What's up guys, my name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader, and welcome back to the channel. Minecraft has a lot of strange and curious happenings that occur, and there's so many secrets that we don't yet know about. In this video, I'll be going over some of the best Minecraft fan theories in the game. These are the top 10 Minecraft fan theories. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Number 10, the Apocalypse. The first theory centers around Minecraft being set in an apocalyptic world and that it is in a current apocalypse or post-apocalyptic climate. This is because Steve is the only survivor of his kind versus hundreds or thousands of zombies. There's villagers and many villagers which are scattered across the continents around the world via the different biomes, but these villagers look like a different species or slightly different to the main character Steve. It seems that all of the humanoids resembling Steve are all zombies and he is the last survivor versus a zombie-infected world. It could seem like Steve is the last human of his kind after they were wiped out by some kind of virus infection to turn them into zombies, and he could be the last one in a mostly empty world. This will lead on to some other theories a little later in the video, but it's a pretty interesting thing to talk about. Number 9, Dream World. Here's another wild theory. This one states that Minecraft is actually some kind of dream world and that everything that happens inside of it isn't actually real. Of course it's a video game, but we're talking about from the in-game story's perspective here. The whole thesis behind this one is that Minecraft is all happening in some kind of dream form, perhaps in Steve's mind or perhaps even Steve as a figment of imagination. Basically the survival mode is the nightmare portion of the dream world where zombies, skeletons and creepers frighten you and you have to go against many different odds in order to survive and complete the adventure. After all, nobody actually respawns after they die, right? Bet you didn't think of that one. Then the creative mode of the game, where you basically play God, is the lucid dream part of it all, where you get to control what happens in the dream by building anything you want or giving you items or flying and basically being untouchable to mobs or anything else. This is a pleasant dream because you can control your fate and there's little to no danger. I thought this was a pretty interesting theory and how both different game modes or game types fall into it. Number 8, Steve is a robot. Okay, so let me start off by saying this. Have you ever thought Steve was a little special, maybe even superhuman? Oh, okay, you might think I'm over-exaggerating here, but let's put this into perspective here, okay? So Steve can carry something like 2,300 cubic meters of materials in his inventory without getting weighed down or slowed down or causing any extra troubles. He can punch solid trees without losing any kind of health and somehow punch them into pieces or whole blocks. He's also extremely multi-talented and skilled, and he can basically craft anything in the game with little prior knowledge of how to do it, only needing a simple recipe. Not only this, he can somehow chomp through a whole chicken in around 7 bites. So you're telling me that Steve is not only the world's strongest man and has the punching power of Thor, he's the best carpenter and craftsman in the world, a competitive eater, and generally just the most talented person around? That's just too unlikely. Steve is probably a robot, and that could explain why he's the only one of his kind still kicking. This theory is ridiculously wild, but I just thought it was pretty funny and amusing to think about. Number 7, Homosapien Theory. Isn't it interesting how Steve seems to be the only one that looks like he does? Only the zombies, drowned, and the various other hostile enemies remotely look like Steve, which is interesting since most of them are dead already or infected. There was an older species of human around 40,000 years ago called the Homo neanderthalensis, or Neanderthals, which differed from our current species, the Homo sapien, as they had larger features like heads and noses. This theory suggests that Steve is a Homo sapien, which is the latest subspecies of human of the current day, since he looks different to the villagers who are described as still humans but looking more like Neanderthals. Every other humanoid minus the zombies are mostly big-nosed with monobrows and look slightly derpy, while Steve and Alex, the female version of the main character, seem to be the only non-zombie humans who are still alive in some form. Number 6, creepers are pigs. Okay, so this is a funny one that's allegedly based on a true story. Apparently during the development of Minecraft behind the scenes, back before Minecraft was actually owned by Microsoft, the creator of the game Notch was messing around with a model of the pig mob and he skewed it by making it long and thin, some strange taller version of the pig. It said that he thought it looked really cool and liked the model, so instead of deleting it, he decided to keep it and make it into a new type of mob in the game. This theory states that this mob was the creeper, and The creepers are a special species or type of pig that's green due to the camouflage. Now, I'm not really sure about the second part, it seems pretty ridiculous, but that first behind the scenes fact about how the creeper was created, if it's true, is pretty cool and amusing. Number 5, Ancient Civilization. Okay, so who else is interested in Minecraft's lore and story? Have you ever been curious as to why there are countless structures and monuments scattered around the world or below the ground? There's jungle temples, desert temples and wells, abandoned mine shafts, dungeons, strongholds, ocean monuments and ruins, shipwrecks, and many more different structures in the game. But how on earth did these things get here? There's many different theories, but the villagers of today live in villages and there's not many other people actually in the game's world. Perhaps Steve's race many years ago built them, or perhaps the ancient villagers' ancestors. One thing's for sure, there's definitely some type of ancient civilization or civilizations that built all of these structures. They didn't come from nowhere. Perhaps these people are long gone, but there's definitely evidence there, even if Minecraft hasn't given us the answers. It would be really cool if they actually added more lore to the game and expanded on the story. I think it would really make the feel of the game a lot better. Number 4, the Void is a black hole. This is an interesting theory that describes the Void as being a black hole, comparing some of its properties and characteristics to those of the giant gravity fields in space. So when you fall out of the world or break through bedrock and descend, you fall continuously into a black space that looks like the galaxy. This is called the Void. Firstly, it literally looks like a black hole and your health runs out in chunks before you ultimately die. The increase in gravity would probably crush you in a black hole too, which could give a reason as to why this happens and why your health slowly depletes in chunks within the Void. It seems that breaking through bedrock at the bottom of the world would make you somehow fall into space, if this theory was correct. Number 3, Herobrine. This one is more of a creepypasta than a fan theory, and I'll most likely cover this one more in detail when I bring my top 10 Minecraft creepypastas video soon. Basically, Herobrine is a fan theory and legend about a mysterious entity that players have allegedly experienced in the Minecraft world. He's said to be the dead brother of the Minecraft creator Notch in the creepypasta story who haunts the game's world, an occurrence that has been happening since the old alpha or beta days. Herobrine is said to be responsible behind anything strange or spooky that happens in your game, such as the placing of signs with cryptic or chilling messages, the emergence of fog when it's disabled in the video options, the breaking of blocks or building of blocks that weren't that way when you last looked at them, or things such as the construction of pyramids made out of cobblestone or sandstone, or even trees in forests being set on fire randomly. Number 2, witches are cast out villagers. A theory stating that those crafty, annoying magic casters are actually villagers, or were in some form. Well, first of all, they look the same as villagers with those prominent features, and you might remember that sometimes within a village you'll also find a brewing stand, which could add more spark to the theory because there's no type of villager that actually could use this. Allegedly, the witches got cast out of the village by the villagers after being discovered to be using magic or some kind of dark magic to twist things in an unnatural way using witchcraft. Many, such as myself, liken the witches more to the illagers rather than the standard villagers. However, they can sometimes also be seen partaking in villager raids with the illagers when a village raid takes place after going through the required steps at the pillager outposts. Perhaps this could be their way of getting revenge after being cast out, but it's still a pretty interesting story to think about. Number 1, Steve is a clone. So this is my theory, and it expands more on some of the previous theories which I stated near the beginning of this video, and it's based around some of the small facts and anecdotes which I mentioned. So as we already covered initially, Steve seems to be the only one alive, or the only uninfected humanoid of the same kind. Sure, all of the zombies and some of the sub-zombie types do look like Steve, such as the drowned and husks, which is the key information here, but they're all infected. Most of the zombies that look like Steve wear the same clothes. This is of course ignoring the drowned and the sand covered husks. This is why all zombies look like Steve but are infected. I think perhaps Steve could be a clone who is one of many, but I think he is either the only one who is immune to the zombie virus or the only one strong enough to survive independently. Perhaps the zombie outbreak was made in a lab and the Steve clones were a test before it got out of hand, and Steve resulted in being the only one immune to the virus after all the other test subjects failed and got infected, wiping out modern civilization. Some of the later aspects of my theory are pretty crazy and extremely extremely far-fetched, but it still makes for an interesting discussion. There's literally no lore or much story behind Minecraft, so it can always just be interesting to speculate about things regardless of how far-fetched they might be. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and let me know which of these fan theories are your favourite from the video, and also let me know about any other theories of your own which we don't know about as well. If you want to see more top 10 Minecraft videos, subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.